What kind of story can we get from them? What if a Guardian gets infected with Oripathy? What if Oripathy isn't affected by the normal Guardian healing? Maybe the Guardian has to live through a couple months of living with a terminal illness. He could also be exposed to other infected, but other infected don't have the same kind of immortality that a Guardian does. So how do we tackle that kind of story where one person has a terminal illness, but they know they won't permanently die, and then they have to talk to people that will eventually have to meet their fate? I think that's a very, very complex premise to think about. So we could tackle things like the meaning of life, how we find meaning in a very short one, a one that has been unjustly cut short. So that's one kind of story I would like to see from the Arknights collab. Of course, we could have a big bombastic adventure, like what I assume for the Monster Hunter collab. We could be fighting something akin to Rathalos. We could bring Destiny villains into it, but what kind of enemies would they be? Because there are a few factions of Destiny enemies that we could bring into the Arknights universe. The problem is, some of them might actually destroy the place. Some of them are way too wild and rambunctious and could actually throw off the balance in Arknights. Do I think the Cabal will show up in the Arknights collab? No. Absolutely not. They are not that interesting as a faction on their own. If they're just gonna be used for enemies, there are way better enemies in Destiny that we could transpose into the world of Arknights. They have way too advanced technology. I think that'll just fuck up a lot of the world building that we already have. The Fallen right now in Destiny are in a very weird place. They're having their own redemption arc right now because they used to be followers of the light until they got abandoned when the darkness came for the Traveler, and then the Traveler had to skedaddle and leave them to fend for themselves, and now they grew a grudge against the Traveler, and then they became enemies of humanity. But nowadays, they're sort of reintegrating back into the forces of light. I don't think the Elixni would fit in an Arknights story collab. The Fallen won't fit, because they're refugees, first and foremost. They're just struggling. They're pirates, they're refugees. We already have those in Arknights. It's called Reunion. It'll be a bit redundant. I say there's a slight chance that maybe a Fallen can appear, but it's not that likely. The two factions that I do expect could appear, one would be the Hive. So the Hive are basically, they're aliens that follow the sword logic, which is kind of like a bastardized version of survival of the fittest. They believe in that any entity that has the ability to best another entity should have claim over the universe. But the problem with them being in the world of Terra is that they might be a bit too much, but I can see the Hive being an enemy. They have a lot of fodder units which can transpose very well to the Arknights game mechanics. Like, this guy over here is a exploding thrall. Or is it a regular thrall? It's a regular thrall. They're just your fodder enemies. Golems can be transposed onto our Colossus enemies. They also have laser eyes. They're kind of like Cyclopses. Oh, here's a picture of a knight. They have knights. It could also be transposed into our Big Bob type of character. I mean, you could just give Big Bob a knight skin and call it a day. Wizards are basically like magic users, as we get from their name. But the problem with the Hive is that if they did land into the world of Terra, would we be fighting a small contingency, or will we be fighting an entire army of Hive? They don't travel in ones or twos, no, they usually come in a fucking ship. If there's an army of Hive that lands on Terra, that's kind of a big deal. It is a big deal for every single country on Terra. So I'm about 50-50 on whether the Hive would be good enemies to bring into the Arknights collab. It is possible. They can find a way to make it work. I believe and trust in the writers of Arknights. The last faction that we could possibly be seeing with the Destiny collab is the Taken. The Taken is like the main faction, the main army of darkness, which works for the Witness, the triangles, the triangle ships that we have here. They basically take control of other factions and then they add them to their ranks. That's why they are called the Taken. So the Taken, they very much can work in the world of Arknights because it doesn't need to be an entire army that falls through the wormhole and lands on Terra. It could just be one entity, and then they could have the power to take. The power to take any person on Arknights or any entity on Arknights and then make them their own personal thrall. It'll be very easy to transpose those mechanics into the game mechanics and world building of Arknights. Just have one big Taken boss land along with the Guardian on Terra, and they could make their own army on their own. If they attack a village, they could turn the whole village into its own personal army. And the Taken don't really have much motivation aside from the fact that they want to claim and destroy the light. As long as there's a Guardian here, they want to kill them. So that's already motivation enough to follow a Guardian into the wormhole. But the Vex though, it's a hive mind of radiolaria, which is like white living liquid. And the Vex aren't actually the robots, they're the white liquid that flows in their veins. They're nanobots. They use Vex constructs to move around. What they basically want is the same, along with the darkness. They want to rule the universe because they think they're the prime beings deserving of ruling the universe. They're also the same with the Hive in a sort of way. They're robots. They don't much have a personality to them, but they can't really connect with any big plot or any grounded plot about oripathy and whatnot. They could discover oripathy too, and then they could learn to weaponize it. Because originium is a very dangerous resource. It does not exist in the world of Destiny 2. I could definitely see a world where we have Originium-powered Vex. That's kinda terrifying. Okay, now I'm convincing myself that Originium-powered Vex are very terrifying. So I'm 33% with the Vex, Hive, and the Taken. One of them could be the enemies for the Arknights collab. We got the main story premise. A Guardian falling into a wormhole, discovering Terra, maybe getting infected with oripathy, maybe not. But learning to discover the meaning of death and the meaning of life through interacting with people with terminal illnesses. I kinda like that story. Which Guardian specifically could show up? This is gonna be a missed opportunity if they don't do a named and iconic Destiny character. So my biggest prediction of who will show up? Probably Cayde. No shot it's not Cayde. Come on, look at that face. It's gotta be Cayde. Because Cayde has already died. However, he himself has made up a ton of stories of all his adventures when he was still alive. One story could possibly be that he fell into a wormhole, landed in the world of Terra for about a few months. He's already dead. What if he had an adventure in the world of Terra before he died? So Cayde 6 is my #1 prediction of a known Destiny character showing up on Terra in our Arknights collab. He is very funny, he's a smooth talker. He definitely has a very human side to him, which could lend well to a grounded story. He's already dead, so they don't have to worry about dangling threads about him in the future. They could just explore his adventures in the past. I also have a different prediction. My crack prediction is that Saint 14, a Guardian who's been trapped in a Vex labyrinth for most of his Guardian life, his backstory is basically that he is a giga badass. He fights the Vex, and he was trapped in a labyrinth for a very long time where all he did was jump from simulation to fight the Vex inside of it. I think it was the Infinite Forest. He was trapped in the Infinite Forest. What if somewhere in the Infinite Forest was a portal to the world of Arknights? What if the world of Arknights is a Vex simulation inside of the Infinite Forest? That's also a good premise to bring the Vex in, to make them enemies. But this is my crack theory. What if the world of Arknights is a simulation inside the Infinite Forest? My brain is expanding. I'm growing new wrinkles just thinking about it. So this is my out there theory on a character that could have a wild enough adventure in the world of Terra. Saint 14 himself is also a very human Guardian. He lends well to a lot of human stories. They don't have to worry about dangling plot threads with the current plot of Destiny because it's gonna happen in Saint 14's past inside the Vex labyrinth that is the Infinite Forest. That's my crack theory. It's never gonna happen, but it'll be wild if it does. That's also a good thing to point out because Guardians themselves, they are paracausal beings. Because they're blessed with the light and or blessed with the darkness, they have the power to break the laws of the universe. Anything goes, really. Yeah, so Saint 14 is my crack theory. My more grounded theory is that it's gonna be Cayde 6. My other theory is that it could be Elsie Bray. Elsie Bray is a time traveler. Like I said before, she came from a timeline in where the darkness won and humanity lost. She went back in time into the current timeline of Destiny to make sure that doesn't happen. She already has the premise that she could jump universes. If she jumps another one, she could end up on Terra. Huh? Y'all feel me? Also, she has the benefit of being a waifu. Imagine an exo waifu on Terra. Imagine Elsie being snarky to you on your main menu screen. I would love that. Elsie, please come home. I don't really know how they'll fit her into the story. It could be just a fish out of water storyline. So in order for a Guardian to be immortal, they need a ghost. The ghost has to revive them when they die. But Elsie Bray is a special case in that she doesn't have a ghost. She's not immortal. She has one life. So she doesn't fit within my fan prediction of what kind of story I personally want. But either way, she's a good character that you could bring into Terra. Xur, this guy, 100%, 110%. This guy will show up in our collab. 110%, 200%. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Absolutely guaranteed. This guy will show up in our collab. He's already aware of parallel universes. He just pops up whenever he wants. This is our version. This is the Destiny version of Cannot. He's our mysterious vendor that just travels from place to place, selling us wares. He's also a multiversal being, so maybe he's the one that brings a Guardian into the world of Terra. He has his own multiversal game show that he hosts with the Space Horse. Where's the Space Horse? He has a Space Horse! Look at that! It's a Space Horse! These two host a game show! An intergalactic game show with prizes and shit! I would lose my mind if Star Horse shows up in Arknights. So, those are my predictions on the Destiny characters that can show up. I didn't choose any of the Guardians that are mentioned in Grimoire cards. Grimoire cards are very esoteric, and it'll be a marketing fail if they don't choose an established character to market their game in Arknights. It has to be an established character, a face that Destiny 2 players are already familiar with. And the most familiar face that we have is definitely Cayde 6. Cayde 6 is my #1 prediction on who will show up. He's already dead, so just give him an adventure in his past. That's it.